Well, I started, I was a traditional classroom teacher, 25 to 33 kids in a single classroom, multi-subject, taught everything. And I would teach a whole group. I would stand in front of the classroom a lot and do whole group lessons. And so, for example, sometimes I would teach, and I use this example frequently, but I would teach, let's say, for example, pronouns. And I would teach on Monday, I would introduce pronouns. And then at the end of the lesson, I would give a little activity to do. And some of the kids in the class would get hundreds on it. Another group would get 70s on it. Another group would get 50s on it. And so then on Tuesday, I would come in, I'd do a little more pronouns, a little more activity on pronouns, and give another activity. The kids who got 100 would get 100 again. The kids who got 70 might come up with their grades a little bit, and the kids who got 50 might come up a little bit. I did this every day, and then on Friday I'd give a quiz, and the kids who made 100 on the activities through the week got 100 on the quiz, and the kids who made 70 during the week on their activities would do a little better, maybe even get 100, and the kids who got 50 would get up to maybe 70 or 75, maybe 80, and then I would take all those grades and average them. So the kids who got 100 would still get 100. The kids who got 100 on the quiz, I would average in the grades, other grades. So they, even though they got it on the quiz, their other grades would pull them down because I was averaging. And the kids that got the 70s would often get D's because I was averaging their grades. So they knew part of it well, but they didn't know all of it, but their score still was low. And I just started feeling like that wasn't right. And because, first of all, the kids that got 100 shouldn't have had a week full of pronouns. They got it on the first day. The kids that grew and mastered it on the quiz didn't get 100 on their report card because I averaged their grades from when they didn't quite understand it. And then the kids that ended up with 70s or 80s still didn't fully understand it, but I'm done teaching pronouns. The next week I'm on to something else. And I started feeling that this wasn't exactly the right way to do things. When I was in a traditional classroom, occasionally I would have weeks when I would let the kids have some free choice about what they wanted to do. And it was magical in the classroom, and the kids were engaged, and it was exciting, the tone and the laughter, and everybody was busy. And then I would get afraid I was going to get caught, and because I wasn't doing what the other fourth grade teachers were doing. And I would say, the next week, okay, we got to get back on track here. No more of that. We have to get back on track and do what we're supposed to be doing according to our curriculum map and what the other fourth grade teachers are doing. And so when I started thinking about the experiences with teaching everything and the grading and the kids not having a choice and realizing what a huge difference was in the tone, I just started feeling like that was wrong. I just felt like that was not the way things should be. We ended up, I taught at a traditional school for several years. My husband ended up taking a job here, and I moved along. And so the first year I lived here, I didn't have a job because I didn't have California credentials. And our house was just right there next. It's a block from here. And so I walked a lot, and I was walking by one day and saw the Avison sign. And when I finished my walk, I went home and Googled it, and my heart sang because I thought, it's finally somebody gets it. They understand what I'm thinking and what I've experienced. So when I started working on my credentials, I came over and brought over my resume and was hired, and very happy everything's worked out. Well, for example, if I'm doing my language outcomes now, because we have Common Core outcomes, if I'm doing those, I can first of all, the kids know the outcomes. They know their language outcomes. They're in their journal. And I just tell them they have to give me evidence, and I'll give them some options on how to provide me evidence. They can do, sentences and find the pronoun. They can write sentences and do the pronoun. I've had, but they have some choices about it. I have interactive videos, tutorials that they can watch online. And then when I see somebody doesn't get it, sometimes I just stop and say, hey, I'm going to give a mini lesson on prepositions. Does anybody else need a lesson on prepositions? And somebody will go, I do, and they'll come over and we'll have a small group lesson on prepositions. And not everybody in the class needs it, so I don't need to do it whole group, because they can get it from the video tutorials or from a mini lesson that I have given previously. And then I'll stop and I'll just do small group. Sometimes it's just one-on-one. And so the whole class who doesn't need it doesn't have to endure another lesson on prepositions. Well, I feel like I'm reaching kids that I didn't know exactly what to do with them. And now I can go up to a child. Used to, I would say, do it this way. And do it this way whether or not, I didn't say this, but it was like you're saying, do it this way whether this is the way is best for you or not. And now when a child I can see they're avoiding or they're using some techniques to get out of it, or I can just recognize it's unpleasant. I can go up and say, what can we do? How can we put this so that it's not so stressful for you? And that is just so cool that you can do that, it's expected for you to do that. And I mean, sometimes I'm looking at a child who's doing things now that the first couple of days they exhibited situations where they would pull away or act out or walk around the room or cause other people to, pull them away from what they're doing because it was unpleasant for them. But now I can say to them, how will this work for you? And tell me how. Or how about this? Or how about that? Or what about this? And it just is such a better place for these kids that aren't traditional learners. Or even if there are traditional learners, but they're doing what they're more interested in, I think they're going to learn it better. I can think of a boy that I had several years ago. Actually, I had him for 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade, so I was able to see the transformation. That is one of the benefits of having kids for multiple years. And who there was something about writing. He just was not a writer and did not like it, avoided it, but I wanted to pull from his writing some of his language outcomes, and that he was understanding. I wanted some evidence for that, and he just avoided, and finally I said, how can you do this? How can you show me? How can you give me evidence? And he said, I can do PowerPoint presentations. And I said, fine, do a PowerPoint presentation. What are you working on in projects that could do possibly, we could tie the two classes together? And so he told me what he was doing in projects. I said, fine. Within that, I need to see that you understand capitalization. I need to see that you understand to capitalize a proper noun. I need to see that, and I gave him a list of things that I'd like to see within his presentation. So he was able to do that, and then he made the presentation to the class. While he was doing the presentation, he would say, Miss Terry, this is my slide where I'm showing you that I understand capitalization. And I thought it was really cool. We integrated the two classrooms. He was already working on a project and was able to give me evidence for his learning for outcomes I wanted him to know in my class. First of all, change is hard. It seems easy to do whole class instruction. But once you get it set up and you get your mind set on it, that that's the right thing to do, and you see the outcome, and it's just worth it. It's worth it. it's hard at first to set up. It's hard to but once you figure out some strategies, some checklists, or your student leaders, as you involve, and you realize what all the resources that you have that are out there, it's not that hard. Well, and why I like Avison too is we don't mention grade level so much. In fact, we have multi-age classrooms, and when it is necessary for me to know the grade level, for example, when I'm giving an assessment that is geared for a 4th grader or geared for a 5th grader, I literally go around the room and go, and are you in 4th grade? Are you in 5th grade? Because I don't remember grade levels of the individual students. Some I do because I've had them for a time, but sometimes I'm going 4th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and because it just doesn't come up. The Common Core standards are grade level, but it's, the kids are just kind of working on those. They're not even aware that it's specifically geared towards a grade level. Then also we're really more emphasizing growth. And so when I'm giving out the assessment data, I'm not really looking at, are they at grade level? I'm looking at where did they start, where are they now, and I'm wanting to see growth rather than are they at grade level. I get contacted by a lot of my old students, and it's really rewarding. I think it's really cool. And so some of them are in college now, and so I've had girls who've been when I was teaching in Arizona, and they might go to the beach or something. They call and they ask if I can join them for breakfast or something. And then I get on Facebook, I get friend requests and things. And I noticed recently, as much as I love that it's the students that were in that group that would succeed in a traditional classroom that I hear from. And I don't hear from the kids that wasn't a good fit. And it kind of makes me sad that I wish I could go back and do it again for those kids, and maybe I'd hear from them as well. And I'm hoping that this is different. I actually do stay in touch with students, and I'm hoping this will be different, that I'll stay in touch with all the students, not just the ones that it was a good fit.